Okay, so welcome everyone to the December 2019 monthly regional focus group session. Bienvenidos a todos a la sesión del grupo regional de diciembre de 2019. Okay, so I'm going to start speaking about the sea surface temperatures, and what I have here, this is the average for the last 3 months, and then we're going to look at the average for the last week. So these are the last 3 months, and this is the last week. Estamos viendo las anomalías de temperatura superficial del mar de los últimos 3 meses y ahora de la última semana, ¿no? De los últimos 3 meses, la última semana. So something to point out is you can see there's this blob of warm anomalies over the Gulf of Alaska that's been very persistent. Pueden ver esta región de anomalías positivas en el Golfo de Alaska. Esto ha sido bastante persistente. And this generally has an impact in the U.S. winters because this tends to induce a ridge downstream or over it and downstream, which generally favors the cold air masses coming into the central U.S. and the eastern U.S. So yeah, I mean, this is favorable for a cooler than average winter in the northeastern and north central U.S. No, esto tiende a ser impacto para el invierno de Estados Unidos porque esto tiende a inducir una dorsal por encima y ligeramente flujo abajo, y eso favorece a que el aire frío ingrese por el centro norte de Estados Unidos y el noreste, ¿no? Así que por lo menos esto es favorable para masas de aire frío, más frío de lo normal, ingresando para el norte de Estados Unidos durante este invierno. Something else I want to point out is the ENSO is neutral. El ENSO está en estado neutral. You can see the SSTs are close to average, except on the Western Pacific, a little bit above average. Las temperaturas del mar en el Pacífico están cerca de lo normal, ligeramente por encima al oeste. Then in the Indian Ocean, we have the Indian Ocean Dipole. The IOD remains active. Este dipolo, perdón, en el Océano Índico permanece activo. Con temperaturas frías frente a Sumatra y calientes en África, with cool temperatures in Sumatra and warm in Africa. Whenever this is active, it tends to interact with the MJO, complicating the propagation. Cuando esto está activo, tiende a interaccionar con la Martin Julian, complicando la propagación. And then lastly, things that have changed in the last weeks are these warmings. One of the warmings is occurring in the North Atlantic. You can see how the temperatures were average of the last 3 months, and now we have warm anomalies. And then another one off the coast of southern Chile. You can see there's been a significant warming in the last weeks or so. And then finally cooling over the the South Atlantic, sorry. Yep. Entonces tenemos estos calentamientos en el Atlántico Norte frente a la costa del sur de Chile y enfriamientos en la región del Atlántico que se han desarrollado en las últimas semanas. All right, speaking briefly about ENSO, so neutral conditions are present. You can see in the animation that we started with a cool anomalies across most of the Southeast Pacific and the very well-defined cold tongue, but this has disappeared due to the arrival of an oceanic Kelvin wave. Entonces, hablando del ENSO, tenemos condiciones neutrales en este momento. Si ven la animación que comienza a fines de septiembre, podemos ver que comenzamos con anomalías negativas de temperatura de mar, incluso a lo largo de la lengua fría, y estas han ido disipándose y incluso tenemos algunas anomalías ligeramente positivas debido a la llegada de una onda Kelvin oceánica. This is from CPC, and they say that the pattern of convection and winds is generally consistent with ENSO neutral. Esto lo ha escrito CPC y ellos dicen que el patrón de convección y vientos son consistentes con ENSO neutral. So yeah, no El Niño or La Niña at the moment. Okay, so looking at the propagation of the anomalies, in the left you have the Hofmuller diagram with upper ocean heat anomalies, and on the right we have the animation showing the cross-section of the temperature anomalies along the tropical y equatorial Pacific. Entonces ahora hablemos de la propagación de las anomalías subsuperficiales de temperatura. A la izquierda tenemos el Hofmuller, donde vemos el contenido de calor de la parte superior del océano. En la derecha tenemos la animación de la sección de temperatura de mar a lo largo del Ecuador en el Pacífico. So what you can see on the left, we have a potent Kelvin wave that originated around September. and it propagated eastward into the South American coast where it arrived around late November. Lo que podemos ver a la izquierda es que tuvimos una onda Kelvin oceánica bastante potente que se formó a mediados fines de septiembre y se propagó hacia la costa de Sudamérica llegando a mediados o fines de noviembre. So this was the responsible for dissipating the negative anomalies along the Eastern Pacific. Esta fue la responsable en la disipación de las anomalías negativas en el Pacífico Oriental. Then you can also see this, let me animate this again. You can also see on the right, this is the Kelvin wave I'm talking about, and see how the warm anomalies reach the coast, and they're dissipating in magnitude. Y a la derecha podemos ver esta región roja, es la onda Kelvin, de la que acabo de hablar, pero se puede ver cómo llegando a la costa, las anomalías disminuyen en valor. Then we have a very a possible upwelling Kelvin wave forming and propagating across the, this will be around 140 west, but at the moment the oceanic Kelvin wave mechanism is not extremely active, so I wouldn't worry much about this. ¿No? Y en este momento tenemos una potencial onda Kelvin de afloramiento, o sea, una fría, en la cerca 140 oeste, pero si se fijan, las ondas Kelvin oceánicas en estos momentos no están extremadamente activas, entonces no podemos, esto no debería tener un efecto muy significativo en el pronóstico.
So up in the upper right, we see a little bit of cooling near the coast.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about that a little more?
I could. You mean in the animation?
Yes. Like, is that due to northerly winds or just upwelling along the coast, or?
Well, I haven't looked at this. I haven't looked at this with detail. I will have to look at the wind anomalies in the last weeks. Usually, this time of the year, the winds in the Pacific off the coast of South America, Peru and Ecuador, are still very strong. So that tends to keep the surface temperatures cooler. But I haven't been able to look at it with detail in terms of the anomaly with respect to climatology. So that's all I can say, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
Bueno, Bernie estaba hablando de estas anomalías negativas que se ven en la superficie frente a la costa de Sudamérica, y le estaba comentando de que generalmente en esta época del año del anticiclón del Pacífico Sur todavía está intenso y los vientos mantienen el agua superficial fría, pero en realidad no he tenido oportunidad de verlo con detalle, así que no puedo decir mucho sobre por qué todavía hay anomalías ligeramente frías, ¿no? Superficiales. All right. So now let's speak about the ENSO forecast. So what TPC is saying is that ENSO neutral is favored with a 70% chance to continue through the winter and 60 to 65% chance to continue into the spring. El pronóstico de CPC dice que las condiciones de ENSO neutrales tienen un 70% chance de prevalecer durante el invierno del hemisferio norte y un 60-65% chance de prevalecer hasta la primavera. And then if we look in the left, we can see the graphic of this is the probabilistic models, and on the right, you have the dynamic model plumes from IRI and CPC. And you can see that both systems are suggesting that neutral conditions are going to be favored with a slight tendency for above average temperatures, but within the neutral range. Y si vemos los gráficos, tenemos a la izquierda el pronóstico probabilístico y a la derecha el pronóstico dinámico de los modelos de IRI y CPC, y se puede ver que ambos sistemas de análisis están sugiriendo que van a continuar la probabilidad de ENSO neutral durante los siguientes meses, ¿no? Las condiciones van a estar favorables para el ENSO neutral, pero con temperaturas ligeramente por encima de la climatología. All right, let me continue. I'm just going to skip this. We already talked about this. Okay, Madden-Julian oscillation. Vamos a hablar de la Madden-Julian. So on the left in the animation, you can see the velocity potential anomalies propagating from west to east. Brown is upper convergent and green is upper divergent. So brown is favorable for drier conditions, green is favorable for moisture conditions. Entonces, comenzando con la oscilación de Madden-Julian, a la izquierda podemos ver la animación del último mes. Lo que tenemos son anomalías de potencial de velocidad en marrón y verde. Marrón significa, se relaciona convergencia en altura o más seco, y verde, divergencia en altura o mayor precipitación. And what we want to see is usually a dipole of brown and green. That's usually indicates an MJO signal that's very well defined, and we want to see it propagating. So what you can see is that the cycle started like that, but as it went through now, it's a little bit disorganized. So propagation is becoming slightly ill-defined, and at the moment, we do have an upward convergent phase crossing the Americas. Entonces, lo que queremos ver para hablar de una Madden-Julian es que tengamos un dipolo de anomalías de potencial de velocidad bastante bien definido y que ese dipolo se propague de oeste a este. Si se fijan, a principios del periodo, que sería principios de noviembre, teníamos ese dipolo bien definido ahí, ¿no? Y propagándose, pero últimamente se empezó a desorganizar. Así que la propagación de la Madden-Julian se está volviendo un poquito más desorganizada. And then you look into the right, if you see the Hofmüller since June, you can see this is a velocity potential again at 200 hectopascals. I forgot to mention that. And green is also more rainfall, and brown is drier. And very, in a very, very simple way to explain it. So you can see that for periods, you can see the propagation has been very well defined. The last period with very well defined propagation was between mid-October all the way through mid-November. But at the moment, it's a little bit less defined. You can still see it. We're going through an upper convergent phase at the moment, but it's not as well defined as it was in November and late October. Y a la derecha tenemos el diagrama Hofmüller desde junio hasta esta semana, y podemos ver que en algunos periodos la propagación de la Madden-Julian estaba bastante bien definida, como fue desde mediados de octubre hasta mediados de noviembre, pero últimamente, a pesar de que sí se ve propagación, no está tan bien definida. Y tenemos una fase convergente cruzando las Américas en este momento. All right, so now I'm going to talk briefly about the forecast for the Madden-Julian oscillation, and this is called the MJO index. What this says is whatever the line is what this algorithm identifies as the current conditions, and whenever the line is far away from the center of the graphic, means that the MJO is well defined. And whenever it's close to the center, is ill-defined. And the quadrant, it talks about in which part of the hemisphere you have the upper divergent part. Entonces, lo que tenemos ahora son los pronósticos de la Madden-Julian. Este es el índice de la Madden-Julian. Y para los que todavía no han visto esto, mientras más lejos del círculo esté la curva, significa que la Madden-Julian está mejor organizada. Y el cuadrante te habla de en qué parte del mundo está la región divergente en altura. So for us, for heavy rainfall in the Americas, you want to have the MJO around regions 7, 8, or 1, and you want to have it away from the circle, right? So this happened around early November, which is consistent with what we saw previously. Entonces, para lluvias fuertes en las Américas, un patrón que favorece las lluvias fuertes, lo que queremos buscar es que la Madden-Julian esté entre las regiones 7, 8 y 1 y esté bastante lejos del círculo. Y esto estuvo presente durante mediados de noviembre, como vemos aquí. Now, at the current time, if this is the current time, all these clusters hard to identify is what's going on right now. And the fact that we don't see these that the curve is really close to the center of the circle and it's not really changing positions, it suggests that the MJO right now is not propagating very well. ¿No? Y lo que tenemos ahora es esta región, es difícil de ver, pero casi todos los puntos están cayendo en la región 2 y 3, pero dentro del círculo o muy cerca, lo que te está sugiriendo que la oscilación de Madden-Julian no se está propagando muy coherentemente en este momento. And then the forecast, this is the GFS, brings it into the circle, which suggests that the MJO skill for forecasting should go down in the next couple of weeks. And the European model, which is on the right, is doing the same thing. ¿No? Y para mirando el pronóstico, tanto el GFS a la izquierda como el europeo a la derecha, están colocando la curva de la Madden Julian dentro del círculo para las siguientes semanas, lo que sugiere que se está desorganizando y no va a ser una herramienta muy buena para el pronóstico. And to wrap up the MJO, these are the forecasts from the 3 different models. We have the GFS in the middle, the CFS or climate forecast system on the right, and the empirical wave propagation model. And as you can see, the solutions are quite different. We're in this upper convergent pattern in the Americas at the moment. They want to suggest conditions becoming more favorable for upper divergence around the middle of the month into late December, but there's not a lot of confidence, and the signal of upper divergence is very weak anyways. Entonces acá tenemos los 3 diferentes modelos, propagación de ondas empíricas, GFS y CFS a la derecha, y podemos ver que las soluciones son un poco distintas. Todos capturan este patrón de convergencia en altura resaltada en estos momentos, pero la transición hacia un patrón un poquito más divergente no es muy clara. La tendencia es a que esto ocurra alrededor de mitad de diciembre hacia fines de mes, pero la señal no es muy definida. Y como hemos visto, la Madden Julian está desorganizada. Yes.
So there's a question from Christian, and he said, what's the influence of the brown waves in Colombia and the Caribbean?
Cuando dices brown waves, ¿a qué te refieres? ¿A estos colores anaranjados, amarillos, marrones en estas imágenes o?
Yes, sí.
Okay. Yeah, in generally speaking, ahorita lo digo en español. So generally speaking, yeah, upper convergence tends to favor more subsidence and limit convection. I mean, you will have deep convection, but it tends to be more isolated. So it does tend to favor a more dry pattern. Sí, efectivamente estas regiones marrones se suelen asociar a más convergencia en altura y esto tiende a favorecer más subsidencia, lo que hace que la convección profunda sea más aislada y tiende en general a haber un patrón más seco, ¿no? Y más estable. Entonces, justamente voy a avanzar un poquito ya que estamos hablando de esto y de Colombia. Este es el pronóstico para la siguiente semana y las siguientes 2 semanas, ¿no? Podemos ver en Colombia, excepto la región centro-sur, todo el centro-norte de Colombia debería estar por debajo de lo normal en las siguientes 2 semanas, ¿no? Lo que es consistente con un patrón convergente, especialmente en estos momentos. Okay, great. Let's continue. So these are the observed rainfall anomalies during the last week, and you can see on the left we have the CMORPH analysis from CPC, and on the right we have the GOSH data. You can see that the regions, well, the Caribbean, Central America are entering the dry season for most of the locations, with some minor exceptions. So precipitation is low in general, but within this low precipitation pattern, you can see anomalies. And the only regions that have been above average are Eastern Costa Rica and Western Panama, the Caribbean side, and then Hispaniola. In Costa Rica, this is mostly due to fronts and shear lines. So in Hispaniola, there's been a lot of frontal activity, which is typical from this time of the year, but it's been above average, and you can see it reflected in the rainfall data. And then in Costa Rica and Panama, we have had shear line activity, and you can also see it reflected mostly in the CMORPH, not on the GOSH data, but I don't know if that has to do with the fact of that there are not that many stations coming into the CPC database. I don't know. Entonces, en español, en la izquierda podemos ver el análisis de CMORPH, que es un análisis compuesto que genera CPC, y en la derecha tenemos el análisis de estaciones, de datos de estaciones que ingresan a CPC, y podemos ver que en toda la región en general tenemos precipitación por debajo de lo normal, excepto en Hispaniola, ¿no? República Dominicana, Haití, y en Costa Rica y Panamá. Y esto es debido a actividad frontal. Hemos tenido bastante actividad de frentes en Hispaniola y, bueno, shear lines también, con líneas de cortante. Y a pesar de que esto ocurre todos los años en esta época, la actividad ha producido mayor precipitación que lo normal, lo que podemos ver en estos gráficos. Y luego también lo mismo ha sucedido en el norte de Costa Rica y sur de Nicaragua y oeste de Panamá, del lado Caribe. Estos últimos días han tenido bastantes lluvias por efecto de un shear line en debilitamiento.
My comment slash question might be, how quickly does the data get into, say, your analysis on the right and the analysis on the left in terms of gauge versus something that's derived more from satellite? Although I do understand that over time the CMORPH, or maybe it's the GPM data, does incorporate some of the gauge data. So.
Right, I understand, but that's a good question. I don't have the numbers yet, but yeah, this is a very good question. Yeah.
So that might be a little bit of discrepancy between the one on the left and the one on the right. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ya, Larry estaba mencionando que también las discrepancias pueden venir de cuánto tiempo se demoran los datos en ingresar a la base de datos, ¿no? A la base de datos grillada que genera estos productos. A la derecha tenemos el análisis de CPC, entonces la pregunta es qué tan rápido entran los datos para ese análisis y asimismo para el CMORPH, ¿no? Hay una latencia entre el momento en que sale el dato y ingresa al sistema. Entonces eso también puede ser una fuente de discrepancia entre ambos. Right. That's why we need to use as many tools available as possible and understand where they're coming from.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Right.
Good.
Por eso tenemos que utilizar la mayor cantidad de herramientas posibles y entender de dónde vienen, ¿no? Ganar confianza en ellas. Next. So this is just the forecast, and I'm pretty close to finishing. I don't want to make this long. It's already 11:30. So this is the forecast for the next week. If you can see, these are the 850 winds in the left. This is just GFS. And you can see that they're prevailing westerlies. These are anomalies. So the prevailing westerlies along the west coast of Central America, which is consistent with above average rainfall in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica is the one place that is supposed to be a little bit above average. But then in South America, all the rainfall is already, we were talking with Mike Davison about this before, the ITCZ is in both Atlantic and Pacific are meandering to the south fairly quickly this year, which is helping with this drying in northern Colombia and Venezuela, the early drying. However, they're maintaining a wet pattern in Ecuador and southwest Colombia, which is consistent with the forecast. Algo que estábamos comentando con Mike Davison, bueno, para comenzar tenemos anomalías del oeste en el pronóstico del Pacífico, lo que favorecería más lluvia en las regiones oestes, principalmente en Costa Rica, que es como podemos ver el ensamblaje del GEFS. Pero algo más que estábamos conversando con Mike Davison es que la ITCZ se está yendo muy rápido hacia el sur. Y cuando eso sucede, esto favorece un secamiento muy rápido en Panamá y Colombia, lo que se está viendo en lo observado, pero también en el pronóstico. Y bueno, y las únicas regiones con lluvias son más que nada el sur de Colombia y Ecuador, ¿no? No tenemos lluvias por encima de lo normal esperadas en el pronóstico.
Kathy Ann adds that the Eastern Caribbean is already experiencing strong easterlies.
Right. Okay. Entonces Katy está mencionando de que el Caribe Oriental ya está con vientos fuertes del este. Yep. Yeah, so early transition, and you can see this on the forecast. If you take a look at the forecast, the 850 winds average for next week is showing stronger than average easterlies as well. So this is continuing apparently. Y también podemos verlo en el pronóstico promedio de la siguiente semana. Sugiere que van a haber vientos del este por encima de lo normal también en gran parte del Caribe, especialmente el noreste del Caribe, ¿no? Este y noreste. All right. However, as we have these strong easterlies, we can probably look at the TUT. Actually, I'm going to show it really quickly. There's a nice, well, meteorologically nice, but well-defined TUT low in the northeastern Caribbean, and that's enhancing this this induced trough in the traits that you can see in the low clouds here. We can talk about it with the slider later on, but that's gonna produce a transient wet period in the Leeward Islands. But we're also looking into Trinidad, Tobago, and Guyana. The signal for a wet period through the next 4 days is very strong, and you can see these in the model solutions as well. So I'm going to go back to the presentation.
Okay, and we have a question from Frankel. He said, please explain what kind of bias is corrected for the GEFS.
Okay, great. And I don't know how to answer that question.
Okay.
I can research for the next time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, usually it means average corrected because bias is, yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what that means either. I have to look
Yeah,
it up.
yeah, I have to
That's why
look it
we
up.
have to that's why we have to review occasionally because we tend to forget.
Yep. Sí, buena pregunta. Boa pregunta, Franco. Pregunta difícil de responder. Okay, and this is for South America. This is the last week, and you can see the rainfall anomalies. Again, CMORPH and the CPC Unified, they're slightly different. But you can see in general that the area that has been above average has extended from southeastern Brazil into Bolivia and Peru, Ecuador, and southern Colombia. This is kind of consistent in both analysis. The fact that all the moisture has been trapped this far to the north has allowed for below average precipitation in most of extratropical South America, like Argentina, southern Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay. Paraguay is in general has been below average for a while. Entonces, lo que podemos ver en el análisis de precipitación de la última semana, ambos análisis dan la idea de lluvias por encima de lo normal desde el sureste de Brasil hasta el centro norte de Bolivia, Perú, Ecuador, sur de Colombia y el oeste de Brasil. Y el hecho de que la humedad haya estado atrapada en estas regiones ha favorecido un periodo bastante seco en la zona extratropical de Sudamérica, particularmente en Argentina, Uruguay, sur de Brasil y Paraguay, ¿no? Paraguay ha habido algún par de eventos, pero fuera de estos eventos ha estado bastante seco por varias semanas también. All right. Then looking at the forecast, looking at the forecast, this is just for next week. You can see this enhanced southerlies. This is our anomalous winds at 850. And you can see in the anomaly, there's prevailing southerly flow across the Buenos Aires province in Uruguay, which should sustain, which should keep the moisture pretty far to the north. So there's nothing significant weather-wise in this, precipitation-wise in these regions. Most of the activity is going to remain far to the north. However, a region that is forecast to remain active is all this corridor between Southeast Brazil into Peru and northern Bolivia. So this region is expected to remain quite active through the next week. And entonces, si vemos el análisis, este sería el pronóstico de vientos en 850 para los siguientes 7 días en promedio. Tenemos anomalías de vientos del sur en gran parte de Argentina, principalmente la región costera, Uruguay, sur de Brasil, y esto va a ayudar a mantener el tiempo y la humedad de capa profunda en la región del centro de Brasil, básicamente el centro-sur de Brasil hacia Perú, Bolivia. No se espera nada muy significativo en términos de lluvia para la zona extratropical de Sudamérica, hasta en realidad el día 5 o 6, ¿no? Donde tenemos un posible evento de sistema convectivo para el noreste de Argentina. Okay, and these are the NMME forecasts for January through March. I know there's interest in this. This is just on the left. This is just the average of all the members, the 7 members of the NMME, and you can see that they're suggesting neutral conditions in the Pacific. They're still resolving these warm anomalies across the North Pacific and across the North Atlantic. And they keep the cool anomalies off the coast of Peru and Chile offshore and intensify them, ¿no? Entonces estamos viendo el promedio de los 7 miembros del NMMI para enero a marzo, y nuevamente acá también se han enmascarado las regiones de menor confianza. Y lo que están sugiriendo los modelos es condiciones neutrales en el Pacífico, se ven, mantienen las anomalías positivas en gran parte del Pacífico Norte y también en el Atlántico Norte, y las anomalías negativas frente a la costa de Perú y Chile las han incrementado en intensidad, pero las sacan fuera de la costa. And looking at the rainfall, once again, this is the NMME. There's certain agreement that areas that are going to be above average are going to continue being eastern Ecuador, the Amazon parts of Peru, western Brazil, and southern Colombia. This is for January through March, so this is not the next week that we talked about. So they want to show above average precipitation for central and southern Colombia. On the left, you have the deterministic forecast for the different members, and on the right you have the probabilistic forecast. And the signal, this is the one signal that is kind of consistent. Entonces, a la derecha estamos viendo los pronósticos de precipitación. Tenemos los modelos determinísticos a la izquierda, ese es el promedio del ensamblaje, y a la derecha tenemos los modelos probabilísticos, o el análisis probabilístico, y podemos ver que hay cierta, la confianza del pronóstico está en esta región de centro-sur de Colombia, Ecuador, Perú y noroeste de Brasil, parte amazónica, donde muestran lluvias por encima de lo normal. Esa señal es más o menos consistente. And then there's also signals suggesting drier conditions in Argentina, but the signal is not reflecting as clearly on the probabilistic part, ¿no? Tenemos una señal de lluvias por debajo de lo normal en Argentina, pero esta señal no se está reflejando claramente en el pronóstico probabilístico.
Sheldon sent a link for the 3-hour percent of normal total precipitable water for the past week.
Yep, there we go.
Okay. And one thing, Sheldon's here, and I believe when it says, when it's doing an anomaly, it's comparing it with, I believe it's a 10-year period in the 90s. So somewhere from 1991 through 2000.
I don't know if you noticed that the mountain range very well defined on the anomaly. Look at the Andes.
Right, okay.
That's a persistent feature, and what that tells me is that there's something off with the climatology over the mountain range. So maybe if there's some kind of correction for terrain, adapting it to this bias that at least I'm noticing for a long time, maybe you could be able to extract a signal on the real anomaly there. But I mean, something when you can talk about it later.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. And he said this is based on the NASA, the water vapor project from 1988 through 99.
It's just a terrain correction to the climatology. It shouldn't be very complicated.
Right, and Sheldon says this is best over the ocean and problematic over high mountains. It says because there was not much data in the mountains, the error is also greater there. So yeah, two factors.
So this is running from December 2nd, I think. So yeah, you can see the last week or a little bit over the last week in terms of anomalies of PWAT. And yeah, as you can see, most of the positive anomalies in South America are in the Amazon basin, whereas in south of Paraguay, the anomalies are for the most part negative, except a couple of synoptic systems, but nothing too significant. We'll look at the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, the anomalies have been above average in the Northeast Caribbean, but the low-level forcing has been favorable for rainfall mostly in Hispaniola, not everywhere. So the ones that have been getting the rains out of this positive anomaly have been the Dominican Republic and Haiti, also for the most part. Entonces, bueno, tengo que traducir. Estamos primero hablando de Sudamérica. Vemos que durante los últimos 8 o 9 días las anomalías positivas se han estado más que nada desde el sureste de Brasil hacia la región amazónica, mientras la parte sur de Paraguay hacia el sur han estado por debajo de lo normal, con excepto de algunos sistemas sinópticos donde había anomalías positivas muy localizadas. Pero, y después en el Caribe podemos ver que había anomalías positivas de agua precipitable, más que nada para el noreste del Caribe, pero los sistemas sinópticos, especialmente en nivel bajo, han limitado las precipitaciones más intensas, más que nada para Hispaniola, ¿no? Dominicana y Haití. All right. Then in the U.S., there's this synoptic system coming from the west, have a lot of PWAT, and this is the one that is, right, see, we're December 8th. Yeah, this is the one that's now over us in the East Coast. Look at the amount. Look at the anomaly of the precipitable water right now, 250 to 300%. ¿No? Y algo que podemos ver en el norte ha estado bastante activo. En la región de Estados Unidos hemos tenido bastantes sistemas sinópticos fuertes cruzando. Acá tenemos esta baja en el Pacífico que se ve en este momento en la animación. Y miren cómo según va cruzando hacia el centro de Estados Unidos y hacia el este, ¿no? Ha logrado con interacción de otros sistemas acumula hasta 300% de agua precipitable sobre nosotros en estos momentos. And I wanted to add up that here in the DC area, not only the DC, but on the East Coast in general, everything north of North Carolina, all the way to Michigan and New England. I was looking at the radar yesterday, and we had homogeneous rainfall in an area that was about almost 3 times, well, two to three times the size of Texas. Just a homogeneous rain, and it's still raining right now. So yeah, it's a lot of rain coming out of that.
So it's verifying.
It's verifying, yes. No, y les quería comentar que esta área grande de agua precipitable muy por encima de lo normal que estamos viendo a finales del periodo. No, les estaba comentando que está verificando este análisis de agua precipitable porque hemos tenido ayer, ya tenemos con más de 24 horas de lluvias casi continuas en la región de Washington, D.C. Y estaba viendo el radar ayer en la tarde y había un área de casi 3 veces el tamaño del estado de Texas de lluvia homogénea en el radar, ¿no? Desde el estado de Michigan, los Grandes Lagos, sur de Canadá, hasta toda la costa este, al norte de Carolina del Norte. Así que sí, mucha lluvia para la costa este entre ayer y hoy. All right.
At this point, I don't see any comments. Do you want to go back to Slider?
Yeah.
We can open it up to the audience if there are any significant features that someone would like us to look at or point out.
¿Alguien tiene algo que quisiera ver en el slider? ¿Con algo con que podamos jugar con el slider?
Is there anything that anybody notices about Slider? Especially South America. And then we have a question here from Franco.
Y Verde dice si notan algo diferente en el slider comparado a semanas anteriores, bueno, meses anteriores.
Morning, hi, Jose. Unfortunately, we had very bad news about Hercules C-130 that has disappeared from the radars and is not have been located yet, crossing the Drake passage in the very southern of South America, between South America and Antarctica. And I have made this flight about 4 times in my life, and some webinars ago we had a very good talk of a guy from Argentina who was going to the Antarctica, and I'd like to see if we can take a look about 21Z of yesterday on the very middle of the Drake passage, the very the place that was last communication with the airplane. I took some image. I saw some satellite and synoptic charts from the region, and there was a low pressure system more to the north from where supposed the airplane crashed. So if there's anybody from Chile here, I'd like to say that I wish all the luck for the crew and the passengers of the flight that was going to Frey base that has the airport in the King George Island. So it's a very sad news, and all people who has gone to Antarctica make a big family. So all our best wishes are with those people now.
Yeah, obrigado, Franco. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it. Bueno, lo que estaba comentando Franco es que ha habido un avión de Chile, un avión Hércules, que ha salido para transportar carga desde Chile, Punta Arenas, ¿no?, hasta la península Antártida ayer, más o menos a las 21Z, y desgraciadamente no se ha sabido nada más. Desapareció del radar y hasta ahora no saben nada del avión. Así que bueno, Franco me preguntó si podíamos ver un ratito en el slider el sistema meteorológico que había ayer a las 21:00 y también transmitir sus condolencias, ¿no? A los chilenos y a la comunidad, ¿no? Es una pena lo que ha sucedido. Right.
Yes, that's sad to hear. Can you write the latitude and longitude in the question box?
Sorry, but I don't have the right numbers.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
It's you know, the King George Island is the biggest one on the northeast of the peninsula. In this image, you can see 3 islands. Is the very middle one.
This one.
And Jose can locate Punta Arenas. It's just a straight line.
Yeah, it's right here.
In the middle of the route.
Yep. Let's see if I can. Yeah, so it's basically this, right?
Yes, correct. That's
Yep.
that.
Sí. No, and you can see. Well, I don't know exactly what could have happened, but you can see that we have a strong synoptic system crossing with a couple of occluded lows crossing the Drake passage at the time. So let's look at the air mass. The air mass is looking funky. Let me upload it again. Well, yeah, there's a couple of strong occluded lows, so that looks like there was some turbulence associated with that. Just from the signature of that system on the satellite imagery, but that's all I can say. Anyone has something else to say about what you see?
Sheldon sent a link for some scatterometer winds from 12 UTC this morning.
That's from 12 UTC this morning. Yeah, strong wind, 40 to 45 knots at the surface. Vientos fuertes esta mañana, 40-45 nudos en la superficie. And that's consistent with the rear part of that occluded low that tends to happen in the region. It's part of the synoptic variability. Esto es consistente con la parte trasera de esa baja ocluida. You can actually see the rotation, the axis of the trough associated with the synoptic system. They have easterlies to the south and then westerlies between the center of the Drake Passage and in the island, Tierra del Fuego. Right. I saw there's another comment that is not related to this, but there's a question on whether we can look at the ITCZ with the slider. I wanted to, before we look at the ITCZ, I wanted to upload, okay, this is for some reason it's slow, but I wanted to look at the upper winds in the region for yesterday at 21Z. I wanted to see if there were a couple jets or something over the Drake Passage, but not necessarily, no, okay. Yeah, I was looking at the upper winds. It's on the Erdl School. Just quick look, and the jet was way to the north.
I was just looking at it this morning, and I'm trying to think. I know there are polar winds on Slider.
Yeah.
Well, not on Slider. They were on an ENSO site, but let me check it. And why don't you go?
ITCZ.
Yeah, ITCZ, and I'll look on this other page,
okay.
And if I see it, then I could send the link. Okay.
Okay. So I have the latest slider image. This is a Cloud Phase Distinction. I've been talking about this in the workshop, so I could talk briefly about it right now. Entonces estoy mostrando las imágenes más recientes del slider. Estoy usando el producto de distinción de fase de nubes. Hemos hablado bastante de este producto en los talleres de satélite. And what this product shows in blue, and you can see the low-level clouds. But once you start seeing green towards yellow, like the greenish, yellowish green, it suggests that you already have icing. So you can speak a little bit about the vertical development of the cloud. And once you see yellow, bright yellow, and a little bit of orange, that suggests that you have deep convection. And cirrus that are not related to a convective cloud underneath them look reddish. Entonces, este producto es el producto de distinción de fase de nubes. Voy a hablar un poquito de él. Entonces, es algo que hemos estado usando bastante en los talleres de satélite últimamente. Algo que personalmente me gusta de este producto es que te da una idea de la glaciación en las nubes, engelamiento. Entonces, cuando vemos nubes celestes o con un poquito de cian, tienden a ser nubes bajas, líquidas. Pero cuando empezamos a ver que se desarrolla un poquito el color verde, teniendo el amarillo, ya suele empezar la glaciación, lo que te dice que la nube está por lo menos en la troposfera media. Y una vez que tenemos amarillos y con un poquito de naranja, te dice que la nube ha llegado a la troposfera alta, ¿no? Que tenemos convección profunda. Y cuando tenemos rojitos solos, y se puede ver por la textura también, son cirrus que no están asociados a una nube convectiva por debajo de ellos. All right. And I got this question about the ITCZ. Hemos visto esta pregunta sobre la ITCZ, zona de convergencia intertropical. You can see in the Pacific, this is, I'm going to see if I can draw it. Right. This would be the ITCZ. Approximately there. Tenemos la ITCZ aproximadamente en esta posición del Pacífico. Normalmente en esta época del año tiende a estar todavía muy cerca a Panamá. Usually this time of the year tends to be very close to Panama. Como ven ahora, ya está un poquito más al sur. Right now, slightly further south. Y esto está favoreciendo precipitaciones por encima de lo normal en la costa central y suroeste de Colombia. Solamente en esa zona, ¿no? And this is favoring precipitation above average in this part of Colombia, in the southern. And see, I'm going to do. Need to erase what I had. So yeah, something like this, and this region is receiving above average precipitation. Esta región es la que tiene precipitaciones por encima de lo normal. Then in the Atlantic, however, the ITCZ is hard to see on the satellite imagery. I may pull out the geocolor as well. Hold on one second. En el Atlántico la ITCZ no se ve tan claramente. Voy a poner el geocolor y después con eso vamos a complementar. And what we've been looking at, this is the ITCZ coming out of Africa, but here is not very well defined. However, you can see the northeasterly traits. So we already have northeasterly winds and there's no convection. So the ITCZ is somewhere very close to the equator, which is really far to the south. ¿No? Entonces en el Atlántico podemos ver que la ITCZ se define un poquito mejor cerca de África, pero una vez que llegamos al continente está bien difícil de ver. Está muy cerca al Ecuador, ya en la costa de Sudamérica. Podemos ver que tenemos vientos del noreste en la región del Atlántico Norte, que es consistente con la ITCZ estando un poquito más al sur, pero está un poquito más estructurada en estos momentos.
And we had a comment from Fernando Suarez, and he's from Argentina. And I also sent the link, at least I think I did, for the winds.
Okay. So he was mentioning, yeah, the strong, they had a warning for strong winds yesterday for southern Patagonia. So Santa Cruz Province, Tierra del Fuego is the southern tip of South America. And the warning said that the winds were going to continue blowing from the west with intensities between 50 and 65 kilometers per hour, but the gusts will go all the way up to 100 kilometers per hour, which is yeah, what's like what is that in knots? It's a little bit, it's close to 50 knots, right? A little bit below. Yeah, and then the conditions were going to get better or improve only today during the afternoon. So yeah, they had a warning for strong winds in the region, and associated, I guess it makes sense, associated with that occluded low we saw on the satellite. Yep.
Right, so the conditions aren't very good for searching either.
No, las condiciones no son buenas para buscar tampoco. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, and you said you had the Ostpolen. Oh, this is it?
Yes.
Great.
Because on the right there you can see Antarctic, and then it has wind from NOAA 1617 and Metop B, which I tried clicking on the
Okay.
VIIRS link, so we'll have to look at it. It's a loop, so you can see back to yesterday, and
Right.
since there are swaths, you can't see everything.
Okay.
And it doesn't
Yep.
go that far
In
out.
time?
Well, it doesn't.
Out.
Yeah, so it's only about.
Yep. So this is the only time where we have winds, right?
Right.
There's
Otherwise,
another
yeah,
period here.
I was going to say there are some from yesterday.
Couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, there's two periods. This is the first one. This is the one the closest to the event.
Yeah.
This is 01 UTC. But the stronger winds of the occluded lower further to the north. So that's close. Yeah, as you said, doesn't go too far out. Sí, estos son vientos de Metop D, Metop A, y tenemos dos pases en la región de interés. El tema es que no va muy al norte, ¿no? El sector, entonces podemos ver los vientos cerca de la península, sí, y los vientos del este de 20 nudos, pero un poquito más al norte, donde en algún lugar ocurrió el evento con el avión, no lo podemos ver. Pero esta es una herramienta más que tenemos disponible, ¿no?
Yeah, just say Kathy Ann had sent a comment near hurricane force. So, okay. Thanks, Jose. Thanks for leading the discussion. It was very good. And thanks to all those who contributed. As we end this year, I'd like to thank everyone for their participation. And I look for further collaborations and participation in the new year. So happy new year, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you, Bernie. Gracias a todos, gracias por la participación y felices fiestas, feliz año y nos vemos el próximo año. Gracias.